Web Marketing That Works podcast, episode 18.
Welcome to the Web Marketing That Works podcast. Come behind the scenes of real-life marketing experiments and listen in as amazing guests confess the truth about what really works. Now, here are your hosts, Adam Franklin and Toby Jenkins.
Hello there, listeners. It is Adam Franklin from the Web Marketing That Works podcast, and I am joined, as always, by my co-host, Toby Jenkins. How are you, Toby?
Good, thanks, Ads. Hi, everyone.
This is the show for people who love marketing on the web. Toby and I will take you behind the scenes of real-life marketing experiments where we look at the good, the bad, and the ugly. We confess what's failed and we reveal the truth about what really works.
This show is brought to you by our new book, Web Marketing That Works, and specifically the bonus templates that go with it. So if you're keen to download those bonus 33 free templates, leap on over to bluewiremedia.com.au/book.
And the guest on today's show is Tristan White from the Physio Co.
Yeah, I'm really looking forward to hearing Tristan's take on marketing ads. What's the sort of, what are we exploring with Tristan?
Well, Tristan's got a very interesting case, and he'll explain it in the show, but his web marketing approach is all about attracting staff, not attracting customers. And he will tell us more about how he does that through things that he publishes online and also his BRW recognition that his company, the Physio Co, is the 5th best place in Australia to work. So he's going to tell us how those awards are given and what he does to attract and retain the physios on his team.
Well, that's really cool. That's quite a different angle. I look forward to it. Let's get this underway.
Awesome. Let's begin. Hello, listeners. It's Adam Franklin from the Web Marketing That Works podcast, and I'm joined by Tristan White. Welcome, Tristan.
G'day, Adam.
So Tristan is married to Kimberly and is the proud father to Alexandra and Harriet. He's a qualified physiotherapist, but he is best known as the founder and CEO of the Physio Co. In 2013, the Physio Co was named the 5th best place to work in Australia by BRW magazine. And with this award, the Physio Co has been in Australia's top 50 places to work for 5 consecutive years. And the Physio Co's been around for 10 years in total, so a huge achievement there. Tristan's passion is building the Physio Co to have a strong family-like culture. The simple approach of being honest, treating people with the respect they deserve, and doing it all with a smile is working for Tristan and his Physio Co team. His team is at 70 people, and they will deliver almost 200,000 physiotherapy visits to Australian aged care residents in 2014. What I like about Tristan is that he also loves to share what he learns. His personal blog, called Culture is Everything, was listed as one of Australia's top 20 business blogs in 2011, 2013, and again this year in 2014. Tristan is a regular speaker at conferences where he shares his engaging presentations, including the 4 secrets to building a world-class culture and blogging for business. And on a side note, Tristan has completed an Ironman triathlon as well. So thank you, Tristan, for joining us. That's a brief introduction of yourself and your business. Would you mind filling in a few gaps and sharing with our listeners a bit more about the Physio Co?
Yeah, absolutely, Ads. Look, the Physio Co 10 years ago was just myself with a vision to improve seniors' healthcare forever. And if we flick forward from 2004 to 2014, we're now a team of 70 people, and we exist for one reason, and that's to help oldies stay mobile, safe and happy. Physiotherapy for aged care residents is our thing. We're so fortunate to be able to work with elderly people in their homes at our residential aged care facilities, and some of our clients are just so appreciative of the work we do. And so I'm rapt that I'm able to work for a business and a team of people that do something significant in the world, and working with elderly people in what sometimes is the last place that they live is something that I'm very, very glad to be doing at the Physio Co.
Now, Tristan, we spoke just before about, off air, about the fact that marketing to staff and marketing to customers, can be quite different. Now, can you sort of share with our listeners the challenges that you're facing at the Physio Co in terms of marketing?
Absolutely, and it's probably an interesting situation that we've been dealing with in our business right from the very start in 2004 and onwards, and that is that the bottlenecking growth of our business at the Physio Co has always been attracting and retaining enough people that are suited and committed to working in the supposedly unsexy world of aged care. Attracting and retaining physiotherapists to work in aged care is where all of our marketing energy and spend goes. There is so much work out there for physiotherapists and health professionals in aged care that we don't do a lot of marketing towards attracting clients. It's all about attracting and retaining staff, which is probably a little bit different to many businesses.
And with that in mind, what is your web marketing philosophy, Tristan?
Our web marketing philosophy is be as transparent as you possibly can and give away as much as you possibly can. So what I mean by that is our web marketing approach and everything we do on the web for the Physio Co is to hopefully allow people who aren't part of the Physio Co family to see what's going on inside the Physio Co, what it's like to be a member of our team, and hopefully attract them to come on in and want to join the fifth best place to work in Australia.
Now, we'll dive into a few of the specific tactics that you use later in this interview. But before then, what have been your major aha moments in your business and marketing journey so far?
Probably one of the most significant aha moments for me, Adam, is the fact that as a leader of a business, it's really important to be accessible and humble and transparent in the position and the way we market the company. And what I mean by that is people want to know who leads an organisation. People also want to know who else works in a business. And because of our goals at the Physio Co are to attract and retain more and more physiotherapists who are suited to work in aged care, then we need to share who are the people in our business, what they're like, what they love to do at work, what they love to do outside of work, and why they're an interesting people that will hopefully help us to attract more people. So I guess a very personal approach is how we go about it, Ads.
And I'm also interested, Tristan, by the fact that you work some days from Sandy Point, from your home, and then other days from the office in Melbourne. Can you run us through the lifestyle balance and the being present but also giving people enough space type of philosophy that you follow there?
Absolutely, and the thing is, Adam, that I'm a very passionate leader of the Physio Co. I'm also a very passionate husband and father to our in our family as well. And so the Physio Co has got a really clear core purpose that I explained before, and that is helping oldies stay mobile, safe, and happy. And we've also got 4 really simple and clear core values that really do drive the Physio Co culture. And with the core purpose and core values in place, I think it's really important that I get out of the way and help people do their jobs by giving them the space and time that they need to be able to do that. And so, yeah, I work from home in a little town called Sandy Point by the coast in Victoria at least 2 days a week. And then it's about a 2-hour drive into Melbourne. I drive into Melbourne, stay there for a couple of days, and then I'm home again to work from home with my family for a majority of the time. So that's sort of how I have the work from home and also engage the team approach.
Fantastic. Now, the second part of this podcast, Tristan, is where we look at marketing experiments. And I like to look at the good, the bad, and sometimes the ugly. Now, in terms of the good marketing that you've done, can you tell us what's worked well, and can we dive into some specifics? Sure.
The most significant thing that the Physio's done in terms of marketing and online marketing is we've created what we call the Physio Co Culture Book every year for the last 3 years, starting in 2012. And what we do is that on our Physio Co birthday party, which happens in February every year, we have a printed hard copy glossy little book that we provide a copy to each of our team members, and we certainly share around to all of our clients and greater community beyond that. That's the printed version. Of course, there's a PDF version which appears via my blog, tristanwhite.com.au. And what the culture book is, it is a year in the life of the Physio Co family. It's got stories of what's happening in the Physio Co. It's got photos of our Christmas party, of our birthday party, of our learning events. And it's got heaps of fun, heaps of photos, and heaps of stories about why the Physio Co is a great place to work. That culture book, or yearbook, if you will, has been one of the most significant things that we've done in terms of marketing and building a really strong and transparent organisation to attract more people to come and work for us. And it's so much fun reading the content, putting it together. I personally am involved in it every year, and it's a fantastic project that I'd encourage others to consider doing as well.
And do you find that most of your physiotherapists that come on board, have they sort of seen it either in the print version or the online version before they start? Or is it more of an onboarding type tool that once they come in and interview with you, they get shown what the culture and everything's like at the Physio Co?
The two things that nearly every applicant has seen or knows about when they come for an interview at the Physio Co is, one, they know that we're one of Australia's best places to work according to the BRW list, and two, they've seen or read or been shown a copy of the culture book. I don't know how, I don't know why, or don't know where they get it from, but it's a consistent theme that our web marketing to attract physiotherapy recruits, they're the two things that they do pick up, and it's almost 100% that every applicant does discover them and find them for themselves, and that's something that's worked really nicely for us.
Can we talk a sec about the BRW award of being in the top 50 places to work? What is it about your workplace culture and work environment that you think is so appealing, not only to the physiotherapists and employees that you hire, but also in BRW's eyes?
Look, so the BRW list of 50 best places to work is created every year, and it's based upon two things. One, it's a confidential study or survey of our entire staff, and secondly, it's a submission that we put in which shares what are the benefits and the advantages of staff working at the Physio Co. And it's all about trust. Creating a great culture is creating a trusting, caring, and supportive environment for everyone in the organisation, not only current employees, but clients and future employees as well. And so I think the area that's really helped us to become a great place to work and build on that every year is the fact that we do clearly say that we are in the business of aged care, helping oldies stay mobile, safe and happy. And we continually are very consistent around that, and people can trust us to continue to do the same thing over and over and over again, of course, evolving and innovating as we need to stay relevant in our industry, but being really simple and straightforward in the way we do things and approachable is probably something that's really helpful in terms of getting on that list.
And Tristan, how about some of the bad things? What's failed over your 10-year marketing or business journey, and what have you learned and what would you do differently?
If I'm to talk about our culture of our business, which is something that I'm so passionate about, and what's failed, I think the most significant thing that's failed is to think that we've got an organisation which is just one culture or just one group of people that are all of a similar ilk. And so to explain that, of course we attract and select physios based upon our 4 core values, and it's a non-negotiable that if people aren't living those 4 core values, they're not going to be employed at the Physio Co. But there's so many subcultures within our organisation of 70 people that if we put on a social event or a learning event or some sort of benefit for our staff, there's not a chance in hell that everyone is going to be excited by it or turn up or want to be there. And that used to frustrate me so much, and that's such a mistake that I made, that I thought we're working so hard as a management team to put on benefits or some sort of event or the like for our staff, and yet only a third of the people are showing up. What the hell is the problem? The thing is, adds that there's only a small number of people that like each particular type of event and the like. So an understanding that there are so many different subcultures in any group of people might be really obvious to some people, but to me it took a while to figure that out. And now we realise that there are large events we put on for as many of the team as possible, and we also cater for much smaller interest groups to cater for those subcultures to help grow the culture, but do it in a more systematic type of way.
So would it be fair to say that the 4 core values unite everybody within the Physio Co, but then because it's quite a large organisation of 70 different people, they all possess the core values, but they've each got specific interests that appeal to the different subcultures within?
Agreed entirely. That's right. And some of those subcultures can be purely geographical, in that our Physio Co support office is in South Melbourne, pretty close to the city in Melbourne, and we sometimes put on some drinks and the like close to South Melbourne. But if there are people living further out in the suburbs and working further out in the suburbs or in regional areas, then quite simply because of geography, that they've got an attraction to people and things going on a Friday night closer to home.
And just another question I've been really keen to ask you. I've heard a lot about, I guess, as companies grow and they exceed the 50-person threshold, that sometimes the dynamic can change, and making that shift from 50 to more than 50 can have its own challenges. Have you found any challenges, or have you found any differences with an organisation, I guess, of 70 people as opposed to when you were sub 50?
In short, yes. And let me talk you through that. I'm actually, the Physio Co right now in 2014 is growing faster than it has for a long time, and is performing particularly well. However, 2013 was a completely different story. And the reason being that we were bumping our way through moving from a 50-person organisation to a much larger organisation. And so if I can explain that story, we had a 3-year vision that was to be executed by the end of 2012, and that was to grow our team from 20 people to 50 people over a 3-year period, and which is fast growth, but something we achieved. And we actually got to 50 people 6 months early, in early 2012. What had also happened at that point in time is I'd moved down the coast here to Sandy Point, and I was less involved in a hands-on management capacity. And as we hit 50 people, and through the end of 2012, and as 2013 approached, it was getting really, really complex, and our organisational structure at the Physio Co had probably not been innovated enough to be able to deal with all these extra bodies. So in 2013, I personally had to roll up my sleeves again and lead the team. We appointed 7 team leaders who each now manage their own small team of physiotherapists across our network. And those 7 team leaders report into me. And the fact that we've now got this sustainable and scalable structure, which we should have had in the early days, but we just didn't have it in place. So we've got this new structure which enables us to grow from the 50 to the 70, and certainly I would think into 100 and beyond at this point, ads. But it's completely different the way we run things now to what we did in the early days, and having the right people and the right structure in place is a critical part of doing that. So
to recap, you've kind of when you hit that sort of 50-person mark and had achieved that goal that you set out with your 3-year vision, you then essentially subdivided your team into 7 different groups, each with a team leader, and they all report to you. But each of those 7 groups could then be, I guess, a 10-person team and be allowed to have its own sort of subculture. Would that be fair?
Absolutely, and the 7 team leaders are completely autonomous. They do report to me, but if they're leading their teams according to the Physio Co core values and executing on providing the treatment to our elderly clients, then they do it the way they like. And the way one team leader does it in one part of our organisation compared to another side of town might be completely different, and that's absolutely fine. The way they communicate to the team, the way they market to their team is entirely up to them. But yes, you're spot on. We've now got effectively 7 mini Physio Cos, which we're growing each of those mini Physio Cos, and then hopefully in time we'll add more team leaders and grow it in that sort of more systematic way.
And now it's confession time, Tristan. Are there any, where we look at the ugly, Are there any dead set shockers that you've had over the years that you're prepared to share with us and share what you've learned?
In terms of marketing ads, is that where we're...
Yeah, marketing or culture, I guess. I mean, culture is such a strong part for you in terms of marketing to employees that would be just as relevant to our listeners.
Yeah, I guess I'll tell you what one of a shocker in terms of something I set out to do. You've mentioned my personal blog, tristanwhite.com.au, and I started that in 2011, and it was something that I blogged 5 days a week for all of 2011. I was very committed to putting up a series of short posts about what was happening at the Physio Co and in my life in 2011. And then in 2012, with such enthusiasm and such boldness, I decided that that I would put out this blogging rhythm of what I would be doing throughout 2012, including a post on Monday, a wrap-up post on Friday, a video on the way, and a number of posts. And it sounded fantastic. I was so excited by it, but I forgot the fact that I still had a day job and I had a family to contribute to, and I completely stuffed it up. And I really didn't contribute to my blog as I'd said I would, which compromises my values completely. And about mid-February or March of 2012, I wrote this long post to my subscribers on the blog and said, guys, I'm so very sorry. I set out to achieve this whole new blogging rhythm with you guys in mind, of helping to build a strong culture for other people listening and following. And I've overcommitted, I've stuffed it up, and I'm so very sorry. I hope you'll forgive me. And what I will do is continue to blog on a regular basis, but nowhere near as committed as what I had set out to achieve. And that stuff up ads was one of the most interesting posts I've ever written, because the response that I got from that and the story, people still tell me about that blog from those couple of years ago. And I think the fact that I was willing to stick up my hand and say I've stuffed this up is the bit that resonates with people the most.
That's very interesting, Tristan. It can be quite liberating, I guess, to share some of the failures that all people in business and all people in marketing make mistakes, but it's uncommon to talk about them. And I think it's particularly appealing when somebody, especially of your profile, admits to something like that and shares it, warts and all, with their subscribers. And I guess that show of vulnerability can very often make people like you and trust you a lot more, because people realise, hey, Tristan's just a human being as well, and he can come back from that and be, consistently in Australia's top 20 business blogs. So it really does provide, I guess, hope and inspiration to a lot of people, including myself and no doubt our listeners. Tristan, if you were starting from scratch, particularly with web marketing in mind, what would you do first?
What would I do first? I'll do two things. Maybe that doesn't answer the question, ads, but I'll push on. The first thing, I'd make a very, very clear plan as to what value I'd like to add to my subscribers, because I bumbled along on my blog for a long time thinking that the blog was about me, and I was wrong. The blog is never about me. The blog is about the person reading it. And so by being very clear as to why the blog exists and therefore the marketing that goes with it to communicate to the subscribers and future subscribers is something I do, be very clear on the purpose of that blog. And secondly, I would, even though the blog and the marketing is about other people, I would still be amazingly transparent and personal right from the very start, because I know as a consumer, I really love to know who's writing a particular piece of marketing or a blog, and making sure that it's very clear as to who they are, what they do, and what their motivation is all about. So I think that's being very clear about myself and being very clear about my subscriber, the two things that I would do right now if I was to start from scratch, and that's certainly what I didn't do in the first time.
And Tristan, you're 10 years into your Physio Co journey. What's next on the marketing front for you?
Look, ads, we're smack bang in the middle of a 3-year plan at the moment. We've got a painted picture vision as to what the Physio Co will look like in February 2016. So we've got another year and 2/3 to execute on that plan. So as far as marketing is concerned, you'll see a strong focus on similar type of marketing, but it will become much more interactive. For example, our culture book will no longer just be a piece of printed or PDF content. It will be video related. It will potentially have its own series of podcasts with it, or throughout the year, the culture book will be updated with new video, new interactive content, and new shareable content to share the Physio Co culture in a much more interactive and relevant way to our audience as we all continue to consume much more on the web.
Now, part 3 of the podcast is where we dive deep into one specific area. And my question for you, Tristan, is which specific web marketing tactic brings you the most joy?
The tactic that I enjoy the most is blogging. And just to clarify, is blogging a web marketing tactic according to your definition?
Totally.
Okay. Well, in that case, blogging is something that I think is so important for me. I love writing. It helps me to clarify my own thoughts and my own direction, my own purpose. And I really think that it's one of the most important things that we all need to do as marketers and as potentially business owners, and even as employees of organisations. There's no reason why an employee who moves from job to job can't have a fantastic blog that helps sell them and sell their services to future employers. So I would really think that blogging is my most favourite tactic.
And as one of Australia's top 20 business bloggers, would you mind sort of sharing with our listeners, taking us through exactly what you do for a blog post?
I've got a series of so I use Evernote as an app to manage my thoughts and my ideas around blogs that I have coming up, and I actually have a series of blogs which are partly ideas and partly a paragraph or two of each blog post written, and so there is certainly an ongoing thought process and sort of in the background planning for blog posts. But when I do have a blog post that I need to or I want to finish, I sit down, I block out some time in my calendar, I turn off my email and my phone and the like, and I really focus on fleshing out that the idea that I'm trying to blog about, and not just in my words, but in words that are going to resonate and be clear to my audience. I do my very best to break it up into headings or subheadings to again make it easier to read. And I probably spend as much time, there's probably 3 areas that I spend time on with every single blog post. One is writing the content of the body of the article. Secondly is writing the title. I think the title is equally as important as the content, because we need to market to people to actually read the blog post. And lastly, I probably spend a third of the amount of time allocated to every blog post in sharing it and commenting and tweeting and commenting via Facebook and LinkedIn and the like as well. So that's my approach to blogging heads.
And is there a really effective pro tip that you could share with our super advanced listeners?
The pro tip? I'm not sure, Ads. I think maybe I'll tell you a little story of the journey of my blog, and that is that it started out to be a thought of Tristan throughout the year of 2011, and now it's become very, very focused on culture is everything and helping people build a strong culture. And so I would think that that the pro tip could be make sure you do have a really tight niche that you're working on, but don't forget that you can diverge every now and again, once every 10 posts or something like that. I don't know if this is my pure opinion. I don't have any data on this, but I think it's okay to diverge or have a personal story that may not be 100% on your niche all the time, but if you have something which, if you're on your niche and valuable content for your subscribers most of the time, and then from time to time you just have an insight into you as a person, I think that's a way to build loyalty, transparency, and a really strong following for your blog.
I think having some of those off-niche articles that you speak about and revealing some of your human side is particularly powerful because, you know, it gives people a window into what you're really like as a person and really humanizes the business. And I know I particularly enjoyed your blog post about your very first Ironman. And of course, that's not really related to culture as everything, but it was a fascinating read, and it was something that I discovered about you. And I'm sure many of your readers do enjoy those off-niche topics.
Yeah, absolutely. It's also it brings sort of refreshing content not only to the reader, but it also helps to refresh me when I get to write off topic just every once in a while.
Now, finally, Tristan, who have you learnt from, either in person or via their blogs and books?
I've got quite a few mentors, both online and offline, that I've referred to. And one of the most significant things that I am is I'm a member of a business owner organisation called EO, Entrepreneurs Organisation, and that's got a really strong focus on learning and growing. So, one, being a member of EO is certainly a mentor or a helper or supporter of me. But the other person that I follow with great enthusiasm over a long period of time is someone I know you know as well, Adam, and that's Vern Harnish. And I know Vern's one-page strategic plan is part of the web marketing tools that that your organisation uses and shares. And Vern is someone who is a guru of small business, and he continues to inspire me with great ideas and great links to other thought leaders, and also to question whether what I'm doing is the right thing to do. So I think the person I could refer to the most and encourage other people to check out is Vern Harnish.
And the beauty of Vern, as you have alluded to, is the fact that if you follow him, he'll put you in touch with all of the best thought leaders in each specific area that you need to focus on for your business. And he's like the conduit of all this information. And I think that's one of the reasons why he's such an appealing person to follow for both you and me. Is because he actually makes so many great recommendations. You can really trust what he says. Tristan, are there any final pieces of advice that you would like to share with our listeners?
Look, if I was to share anything to wrap up, ads, I would just encourage people to, like I've learnt, and I could probably add to those the mentors that you spoke about. I've learnt something significant from Adam and Toby at Blue Wire Media, and that's the value of experimenting, of continually doing new things, assessing whether it works, and then deciding whether you'll continue doing something along those lines or again move to something new. And I know, Adam, you've worked on a phenomenal amount of experiments in your marketing and continue to do it. And it's something I apply to not only my blog and my web marketing, but everything we do in our business. There's experimenting, trialing, and various progression into execution in all sorts of parts of our business. And I'd really encourage people to take on a similar approach. In my experience, it does work, and it's one of the best ways to continue innovating in a small business.
And how can listeners connect with you, Tristan?
Yeah, check out my blog. So Culture is Everything is the name of the blog, and you'll find that at tristanwhite.com.au. And if you want to send me a message, you can do via that website. And of course, you can connect with me on Twitter at Tristan J White is my Twitter handle. You'll find me on Facebook. You'll find me on LinkedIn. You can't really miss me on online ads. I'm in as many channels as I can get my hands on, I reckon.
That's great. And also keep an eye out for Tristan at conferences. He's doing a lot of keynote speaking on the topics that we've spoken about today. So if you do get the chance to see Tristan, I highly recommend it, and make sure you go up and say hello. He's a friendly man and full of lots of great advice. So Tristan, thank you again for joining us on the show, and I'll see you next time.
Thanks, Ads.
A very interesting interview there with Tristan White from the Physio Co. And very interesting to hear him talk about his culture book. And he has, publicly acknowledged that it's modeled on the Zappos.com culture book. And this is something that both you and I have experimented with at at Blue Wire Media, isn't it, Toba, our culture book?
Yeah, look, I mean, I guess it's Tony Shea kicked off the idea that it would be a great thing to document your culture, particularly where, there's so much talk out in the marketplace around how competitive it is to get great talent, and culture being the only thing that, you can copy systems, you can copy processes, but you can't copy people. And so a culture book is a way of sharing, your internal culture and how your business works and the attitudes and values that you have with the world. And it's interesting to hear that, that's used as a really powerful attracting mechanism for Tristan's business.
Yeah, and like Tristan, we love focusing on culture, and we really geeked out the other year. We went over to Las Vegas, and we didn't hit the casinos. We enrolled for the Zappos Culture Tour, which basically is a guided tour around the Zappos headquarters, and we got to see firsthand exactly how this company, looks and operates on a day-to-day basis. And for listeners that aren't familiar with the Zappos story, it started as an online shoe retailer about a decade ago by a gentleman called Tony Shea that Toby has mentioned. And after about 10 years, it got bought by Amazon for over $1 billion. And it's world renowned for its culture. And when we went in there, it was amazing, actually, because, like each of the employees' cubicles, they could decorate with their own, peculiar, styles. And it was eye-opening, wasn't it, Tobe?
Yeah, it was amazing. It was quite remarkable to, not just that they could do that, but in fact that they all did, and that it almost becomes a competition as to who can have the quirkiest cubicle. And Tony's cubicle is in amongst the bullpen with everyone else as well, and that they have such an amazing reputation for customer service. So it was really cool to see that firsthand. It was quite amazing, and you really got a sense, having been in there, you could really get a feel for the culture, but also a feeling of pride from all the staff in terms of what the culture meant to them, and how they participated, and really everyone was all in.
Yeah, they really were. Hey, and it goes to show that you definitely don't need a stuffy, boring corporate culture to be financially successful. It almost felt like you were walking into a bit like like a kindergarten at some points, but full of adults. Everybody was just having so much fun. There was toys. They were mucking around. But you really did understand that they care about their customer, and they will do anything to help their customers, from the point of they don't time their phone calls with their customers. They can be on the phone as long as they like. If they're helping the customer, having a chat to them, hearing their problems, then that's fine. They'll also do things like they've got a 365-day return policy, which is unheard of. But it puts people's mind at ease, and they genuinely want their customers to be getting, a product they're happy with. So it was really fun.
The thing that Zappos have done really well, I think, is that they've taken what could easily be a hidden part of the business, which is their internal culture. And typically you don't see what someone's office is like, but then they've chosen to, because it's such an incredible unique point for their business, that they've chosen to share it with the world, and that's generated enormous press coverage. And Tony's written a book about it called Delivering Happiness, and there's all this sort of, the marketing is really focused around this incredible unique culture that they have, and that's been a way of generating an enormous interest in what otherwise some people might consider relatively mundane, selling shoes online.
Yeah, and it's exactly the same with Tristan as well. Hey, it's so cool to see that sort of level of success being repeated by Tristan, because, as he says, he's in the relatively unsexy world of aged care, and his culture book, is building a profile for himself and his business that is attracting the right types of physios. And there's an article that you'll see on The Age where he's talked about in the same article as Jeff Bezos from Amazon. And that, I think, is well-deserved because, he really is, as you say, shining the light on attracting staff and what his culture's like, and attracting really good quality physios into his team at the Physio Co.
Yeah, I think he's done a fantastic job of that. Was there anything else that you wanted to cover on that, Ads?
No, I think that's it, Tobes.
Okay, well, as always, then thank you very much, listeners, and thanks very much to Tristan for coming on the show. It's brought to you by Web Marketing That Works, the book, and specifically the bonus 33 free templates that go with it. So head on over to bluewiremedia.com.au/book to download those templates. We're really here to try to deliver as much actionable advice as possible. So please send us any feedback that you might have or questions. They're all welcome. My email address is toby.jenkins@bluewiremedia.com.au, or you can get to me on Twitter, at Toby_Jenkins. Ads.
I'm adam.franklin@bluewiremedia.com.au. On Twitter, @Franklin_Adam. We do genuinely appreciate your feedback and we look forward to it. If you have listened to the show, thank you for making it to the end. We would really appreciate an honest review on iTunes. If you can take the time to do so, that would be fantastic. And we will give a shout out and a link to people who leave us a 5-star review. Thanks again for listening, and we'll see you next time.
Thanks very much, everyone.